Last week on Legally Kidnapped.
Good evening. Our top story this week: England and Illinois have something in common, as both have chosen gays over Christians as foster parents. As Illinois decides whether or not to fund Christian adoption agencies who discriminate against gays, after a Lutheran adoption agency hid the sexual orientation of a lesbian couple during the adoption process, and a British couple loses their right to be foster parents over their anti-gay Christian beliefs, after the British High Court rules that there is no place for Christian beliefs in British law and that all foster parents must be non-judgmental. The U.S. Supreme Court takes on a child protective worker's right to question your kids at school without your permission or a court order. California starts putting GPS devices on kids who skip school. And a new court claims it has a plan for improving the educational outcomes of foster children. In Colorado, parents who take medical marijuana are losing custody of their kids left and right. And a divorce lawyer from Denver highlights the benefits of virtual visitation through Skype, phone conversations, and in-person visits during school vacations when one parent wants to move out of state with the kids. Although plenty of people were warned about the abuse of a set of adopted twins in Florida, nobody did anything, so the sister ended up dead and the brother ended up in the hospital. Since this story broke, the head of DCF has called for a complete review of Florida's foster care system. And the system sucks are jumping all over the situation by crying out that DCF isn't doing enough to protect children in the state from abuse and neglect since the state decided to cut the number of children taken into foster care. Google is in hot water this week after collecting the last 4 digits of kids' social security numbers for their Doodle for Google contest. Disney wants to spend more time with your children after buying the kids' social networking site Togetherville. And families are being reunited thanks to Facebook. Connecticut's new DCF commissioner says that the agency must do more to place children with relatives. Governor Deval Patrick is considering an overhaul of the Massachusetts child welfare system after a judge rules that a class action filed by Children's Rights can proceed. And a group of foster kids from Oregon are about to descend upon the U.S. Capitol to promote educational opportunity and independent living skills for foster children. A new study finds that which we already know, which is difficult children often have behavioral problems when they get older. The system sucks in Nevada are up in arms over a plan to cut the budget to the state's child welfare system. The system sucks of Texas are wigging out over the same thing. And foster parents are still getting more support than kinship placements, although placing children with their relatives is best. Now on to this week's legislative roundup. A bill giving married couples preferential treatment and the adopting of children gets preliminary approval in Arizona this week. Texas lawmakers consider a proposal that would make drug use by pregnant women a crime punishable by jail time. And the Utah House rejects a bill that would make leaving a child unattended in a car a misdemeanor. In New York, legislators from Niagara want the governor to fire the Commissioner of Child and Family Services after the 2009 death of a counselor in a Lockport group home. Lawmakers in California consider opening up dependency court proceedings in an effort to improve transparency and accountability in the child welfare system. Kentucky considers a bill that would lessen the reliance on juvenile detention for kids committing minor offenses. And the Iowa State Legislature is still considering changes to the state's child abuse registry. In South Africa, social workers are ignoring many cases of child abuse, and it appears that China is about to jump on the child abuse bandwagon as it forms a Ministry of Children. Ethiopia cuts foreign adoptions by up to 90%. In Ireland, a teacher who was accused of abuse has made over $1 million while on paid administrative leave while awaiting the outcome of the investigation. The Russian government threatens to take away the child of an environmental activist who's speaking out. And welfare services in Israel are going on strike because the workers don't think that they're being paid enough. In Australia this week, immigration officials begin moving children out of the immigration detention facilities and into the communities. The government in New South Wales plans to give thousands of kids back to their families, which of course the system sucks are upset about. In Canada this week, a father is calling for a public inquiry into the death of his 15-year-old daughter who died at a group home in Quebec. The child protective industry in Saskatchewan says it's going to fix their child welfare system after a little boy died in their care. Ontario is being urged to implement ombudsman oversight of their child welfare system. In British Columbia, a disabled teen was sexually abused while in a foster home where the foster parents hired staff to watch the kids at night without having background checks done. And Ottawa is still sticking it to Aboriginal kids. In England, the Don Lancaster Council is under investigation for failure to protect after a recent deaths of 7 children under its jurisdiction. Juvenile offenders are being released onto the streets with no place to go. And the politically correct paranoia cases of England are upset over the country's decision to scale back overzealous background checks on every adult that may come into contact with children. 2 of the social workers who failed to spot signs of abuse in the Baby P case are under investigation in regards to their own children. A woman who made a false accusation of rape to cover up her pregnancy in an effort to hide her infidelity while her husband was in Afghanistan is jailed for 12 months for perverting the course of justice. And parents are still being denied a voice in court against the child snatchers of the UK. In entertainment news this week, the DA says there is no evidence to charge Mel Gibson's ex with extortion, but claims plenty of evidence to charge him with domestic violence. Joe Francis, the producer of the Girls Gone Wild videos, is going to trial again for allegedly featuring underage girls in his sexually explicit videos. After screaming abuse so that she could win custody of the kids, supermodel Christy Brinkley wants to leave the kids with her ex Peter Cook for 4 months so that she can go make her Broadway debut. David Burney denies allegations made by ex-wife Meredith Baxter Burney in her new book, claiming that he abused her, and says that she made up the accusations in order to get custody of the kids. And 2.5 Men star Charlie Sheen dominates the news media this week after the police remove his children from his care and give them back to his soon-to-be ex-wife Brooke Mueller, who called alleging threats of violence against her. And the custody battle is on as Sheen has been passing drug tests and makes his own counterclaim that Brooke Mueller is a crackhead. In Washington, a woman is suing the child protective industry after placing her with a foster molester back in 1995. An Illinois woman is suing Alderman Richard Heyman, claiming that he made an unjustified child abuse report to DCFS. And a Muslim woman from Ohio sues the child protective industry after claiming that race and religion were the reason social workers stole her kids and threw them into foster care. In this week's foster crimes report, in Colorado, a foster parent gets busted for sexually abusing a girl in his care for over a 5-year period. A DCF child abuse investigator from Florida gets busted with 15 grams of cocaine in her car. She then quits on Monday and takes back her resignation on Thursday. The former Pennsylvania judge convicted in the Cash for Kids scheme involving privately owned juvenile detention facilities wants his conviction overturned, and the Oklahoma judge who is charged with fraud in an adoption scheme wants her kids back. Also in Oklahoma, the Wayne police chief is arrested for embezzling money from a child abuse victim fund. A California judge sets a preliminary hearing date for a foster parent suspected in the death of a 3-month-old, and another California foster mom pleads insanity after murdering her 15-year-old niece. In Arizona this week, sheriff's deputies seek immunity protection after the attempted coercion of homeschooling parents by threatening to remove their kids for refusing to allow child protective workers into their home. In Ohio, an autopsy will reveal how a 7-month-old foster child died. Police in New Jersey are desperately searching for a 15-year-old foster child who ran away from her foster home. In North Carolina, 6 child protective workers are suspended from baby stealing pending an investigation into the death of a 16-month-old. And in South Carolina, a baby stealer and a 9-year-old kid who was riding with her are killed in a car crash. An aged-out foster kid from Rhode Island does a news conference alleging being abused while in foster care. A mom gets targeted by the media for selling her kids' toys on eBay after the kids did $500 worth of damage to her bathtub with them. And finally, tonight, police in Georgia shut down a Girl Scout cookie stand after the girls were caught operating without a permit. For these stories and all the latest dirt on the child protective industry, visit www.legallykidnapped.com. And until next week, this is Baby LK, over and out.